Okay. All right. So a quick recap of what we did on Tuesday. This shouldn't take you long at all. It's a nice quick thing to go through. Remember, don't overthink when you're drawing graphs. Just literally you draw what you have to draw. I'm just going to draw my axes so long. But think about what we did on Tuesday. Think about what these different numbers mean. Plot them. Draw your graph. Find your x-intercepts. And you will be good to go. Okay. So let me write our little steps here, just in case also if we have anyone who's new. Although if you're new and you haven't done functions in class, this might be a little bit scary. Don't panic. All of our videos are online, so you can always check everything. Yeah, you're there, my sweetheart. You are here. I don't know where your name is and where your surname starts. That is why you're the only one who doesn't have a surname. Can you give me guidance for next time you are on the leaderboard? Where is the end of your name? And then what's your surname? That's the only reason you don't have a... that was my initial... Okay, that was my initial thought. And then I was like, what if it's not? And then I messed this up. Okay, so... and who else did I mess up? Where am I? I got that there, though. Oh, well then you... Okay, so then you were almost bored. Okay, thank you, Sanda. I will know for next time, okay? Okay, we're going to look at our A value. So here our A value is -3, and I want you to think about what that means. Is it going to be a happy graph or a sad graph? I want you to think about what your y-intercept values are. I want you to sketch your graph, and then I want you to find your x-intercepts. Okay. Those are the 4 steps I want you to do. It doesn't have to be a beautiful work of art. You can literally sketch it down nice and quick. It's just to make sure that you remember what's going on from Tuesday, and then we're going to jump into today's lesson. Absolutely, Mendiza, it is a sad graph. Y is 0, 12. Beautiful. Love it. Thank you, Lizwa. I'm going to draw that in so long. So that's my 0, 12 sad graph. I'm going to call it H because that's its name. So I've sketched it. Okay, last step, finding our x and y intercepts. If we do it this way, we're saying 0 equals -3x squared plus 12. I'm going to take out a highest common factor of -3, and I've got x squared minus 4. So I'll have x plus 2, x minus 2, which means this will be -2, and that will be +2. You could also have done it the way of bringing it over. So you will have -12 is equal to -3x squared, which means 4 is equal to x squared, which means x is equal to plus or minus 2. Both ways are fine. See, Mtanda, just be careful. It would be square root of +4, not -4, because when you bring your 12 over, it'll become a negative when it jumps over. Cool. So that was just a very, very, very quick recap of what we did on Tuesday, just to get our brains back into what everything means, what our different things are telling us about. And today what we're going to do is we're going to combine this knowledge of the parabola and we're going to bring it together with some straight lines. And we're going to talk about things like domain and range, which we haven't spoken about. We might get a chance to talk about points of intersection, but we'll see how far we get in the lesson. Okay, but we're going to talk about turning points and all kinds of things today. So, bringing them together. Now, the first thing when we have questions like this, because I know when you see this, it looks scary, and I get that, okay? The first thing we want to do is we want to establish which graph is which. I recommend that if you are in a test situation, if you have a highlighter, highlighters are really, really helpful, but a colored pen can do the same thing, is find the graph that we're talking about. So like here, they're talking about f, and they're saying it's negative 2x squared plus 8. Is that a straight line or is that a parabola, that equation? Negative 2x squared plus 8. Is that a straight line or is that a parabola? Great, and Paul, can you tell me why it's a parabola? What's the giveaway on why it's a parabola? The squared. Excellent. Okay, we know it's a parabola because of the x squared. So that means we know that this graph here, because that's my parabola, is, let me get my colors going. We know that this graph is negative 2x squared plus 8. Okay, that means that this graph over here, this G, is my straight line. Okay, so now we know that that's my straight line. So that means that this graph is negative 3x plus 6. Okay, cool. It's important for us to sort of just establish what's going on. Now let's start going through these questions. So first things first, so a lot of these questions we're going to kind of work through together. I'm going to ask a few follow-up questions and you're just going to kind of talk me through a few things. We're going to do this step by step. If I'm wanting the coordinates of A, so look at what A is, okay? Think about what A is on what graph, and then tell me what my coordinates for A are. So look at which graph it is, look at where it's crossing, and see if you can tell me what my coordinates for A are. And remember, when you give me an answer of coordinates, always in brackets with a semicolon in between the numbers. Exactly, Emmanuel. A is the y-intercept of our parabola. Great, guys. These answers coming in are awesome. Yes, Ria, yes, Kutlana, well done. Normsa, yes, yes. Okay, A, this point over here, oh, let me use yellow so that we're being consistent. Okay, A, exactly as Emmanuel said, A is the y-intercept of the parabola. Okay, and we know that our Q value is the y-intercept of our parabola. So that means that A is 0 and 8. Okay, so now we know what A is. Cool. And when you have a question like this in a test or exam, write all of the answers that you find on your test so that you can see, okay, now I know that this point is 8, because they're going to start interacting with each other and it will help you in the long run. Okay, next question. I'm looking for the coordinates of B. The coordinates of B. That guy there. What are my coordinates of B? Yes, Awami. Yes, Ria. Careful, Mpho. Careful about your signs. Okay. B is the y-intercept of the straight line, which is our Q value, which is 6. So that means that B is going to be 0, 6. So that point up there is 6. Okay. So far we know what A is, we know what B is, and we know this purely because we know our formulas really well. And that's why I keep on stressing that you need to know your formulas. Your straight line formula, always remember y equals mx plus c that's your y-intercept, that's your gradient, okay? Parabola, y equals ax squared plus q, that's your y-intercept, that's your shape. Okay, cool. Lorato, how can I help? Oh, sorry, I have to unmute you. Yeah. Oh, okay, got you. No problem. Okay, C. I want the coordinates of C and I want the coordinates of D, and you can find them at the same time. Tell me what C and D are, and then think about how you can figure them out. What are C and D? Think about what they are. That will help you figure out how to work them out. So at the moment, Shadow, we're thinking about what are C and D, and then how do we calculate them? So both C and D are our x-intercepts of our parabola. And when it's an x-intercept, we make y equal to 0. Okay. So we would say 0 is equal to negative 2x squared plus 8. 0 equals negative 2x squared minus 4, x plus 2, x minus 2. And if you did it the other way around, that's absolutely fine. You will get the answer that x is positive or negative 2, which means that C is 2 and 0, and D is negative 2 and 0. So just be careful of your order of things, guys. Remember, it's your x value, so that x has to be there, and your y value is 0. So make sure you've gotten those in the right order. When we're finding our y-intercept, it's our x value that's 0, and when we're finding our x-intercept, it's our y value that's 0. So we know that it's 0 because it's an intercept. As soon as we know that it's an x-intercept, every time it's an x-intercept, y will always be 0. The same as if it's a y-intercept, x will be 0. Okay. Yeah, I divided by the negative 2. If you did it the other way around, you would have had 0 equals negative 2x squared plus 8. Bring that 8 over. Divide by negative 2. So x would be plus or minus 2. So the coordinates of B, they were the y-intercept of our straight line. So they were that value over there. Okay. We're going to come back to E, but at the moment we're going to jump onto C. So for C, we're going to look at a pseudo I can't explain from the beginning. If you've only arrived now, you're going to need to watch the video when the lesson's finished. If I'm wanting to look at the range of F, who can tell me what range means? What does range mean? What is it looking for if they ask us a question that's range? How do we say that in like normal words? Sanda, tell me how I could do that.
Ma'am, isn't the range for the y value?
Good. Okay. So it is our y values. It's asking basically, what are all the possible y values of our parabola? What are the possible y values of the parabola? That's what it's asking, because it's asking for the range of f. Okay. So basically we're saying, what can my y values be? Who thinks they can tell me what y could be here? What could my y values be? Okay, so now the problem with these answers where it's saying you could be any number or could be any real number is if I was here, so if that's 9, right? That's when y is equal to 9. Is my parabola up there? Do I have any part of my parabola when y is equal to 9? Do I have anything where that blue dot is, where that 9 is? Is my parabola up there? No, my parabola is not there, which means y can't be anything because y definitely can't be 9 because I don't have a parabola. Okay, y can't be 10 because I won't have a parabola. Can y be 8.5? No, because I don't have a parabola. What does y have to start at in order for me to start having a parabola? What is the top value that y could be in order for me to have a parabola? So think about what that would mean. 8, great guys, yes. Okay, the top value that y can be in order for my parabola to exist is y is equal to 8. Okay, so we can give this answer in 2 different ways. So it depends on how you have been taught this in class. You must use the one that you're comfortable with. So I'm answering question C here. I know that y has to be equal to or less than 8. So y has to be less than or equal to 8, which means y has to be at that point or lower. That's what that's telling me. Okay, so you can write it that way. Or some of your teachers would have taught you as negative infinity to 8. Some of you may have been taught it that way. It's also totally fine to write it like that. But basically, we're just saying that y has to be 8 or less. Otherwise, my parabola doesn't exist. My parabola, it's not there. It doesn't have a value. Okay. Next one should be really easy after what we've just spoken about. Next one is we're looking at what are the coordinates of the turning point of F. What are the coordinates of the turning point of F? Emmanuel.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
Ma'am, I just wanted you to explain by question C what do the brackets mean, ma'am?
Sure. Okay, so this curved bracket, it means that I'm not including that number. And we're not ever allowed to include infinity because infinity is not really a number, it's a concept. So whenever there's an infinity sign, you'll always have a curved bracket. And the square is saying that I'm including it. So it means that there's an equal sign. So if this looked like this, y needs to be less than 8, it would be a curved bracket. And then it would be another curved bracket because I'm not including the 8. It's not also equal.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Sure, no problem. Oh, sorry. Ignore that. Kamva, how can I help?
Oh, ma'am, I was going to answer, ma'am, but no, it's fine, ma'am.
Okay, no problem. You would get lots of marks for a big question like this. So it would be out of 12 or 13 marks for this full question. It just, each one takes time. So don't panic. Okay. So D, for D, I'm saying what are my, what are my coordinates of the turning point? The answers coming in here are great. The turning point of a parabola is either the top point of the parabola or the bottom point of the parabola. And so it will be 0 and 8. That will be my answer for D. Okay, last question here is a nasty question, but it comes up often. So it is one we have to talk about. The coordinates of E. E is this point over here. What can you tell me about E? When you look at E, what can you tell me about it? Linda Bentley, what can you tell me about E? Okay. Yeah, Kevin, yes, exactly. They intercept. Okay, it's intersecting with parabola. Yes, nice job, guys. Okay, it's called a point of intersection. Intersection. Okay, so it's called a point of, it's, it's okay, I liked it, intersection. Okay, a point of intersection. And a point of intersection is meaning where my two graphs are meeting. They are meeting each other. And at that exact point, it means that my graphs are equal to each other. Okay, and so if I'm wanting to find my values for E, I'm going to say, well, where is my straight line equal to my parabola? That's what I'm asking if I'm looking for the coordinates of E. And I know that the formula for the straight line is negative 3x plus 6. I know that the formula for the parabola is negative 2x squared plus 8. And so what I land up with is I just have an equation. Okay, so I'm just going to write it a little bit neater. Just going to move this over here a little bit. Okay, so I've got my straight line, that's this guy, and I'm saying where is it equal to my parabola, which was this one. And then we just have a normal equation. Now I know we haven't done these equations in a while, but we have to just, the problem with grade 10 is that all of your sections start intersecting with each other. They all overlap. So it's important for us to know all of them all the time. In this equation, I have an x squared. Okay, and if I have an x squared, it means that it is a quadratic equation. And if it is a quadratic equation, what do I want to do? What is my first step whenever we have a quadratic equation? Whenever we have an x squared, what do we want to do? Normsa, tell me what we want to do.
Group item, like terms. Group
So
like
we definitely will get our like terms together, and we definitely are going to factorize, but what do we have to do before we do any of that?
Is it fact?
Oh, sorry, Nomsa, I didn't mean to stop you there. Factorize was definitely right. Canva, what do I want to do when I have this x squared there?
Don't you want to take it to the other side, ma'am?
Yes, I want to take everything to one side and I want to make it equal to 0. Okay, beautiful. Thank you. Whenever I have a quadratic equation, I want it equal to 0. Okay, so I'm going to move it to this side. So I'm going to have 2x squared minus 3x plus 6 minus 8 equals 0. That's going to be 2x squared minus 3x minus 2 equals 0. What glorious thing do we have now that we learned at the beginning of the year? What do we have in front of us? Something that many of you did not enjoy. Canva, yes. What do we have in front of us?
Trinomial, ma'am.
We have a trinomial. Yes, guys, we have a trinomial.
Well
And so
done.
we have to factorize this trinomial, and we have to use our crisscross method because we have a coefficient in front of our first term. Okay, so we have 2x and we have x. That's what gives me this first one. I now need to move that 2 so that I can somehow get a negative 3. So I'm going to have negative 2 plus 1. Negative 2 times 1 gives me negative 2. Okay. 2x, remember we multiply diagonally. 2x times negative 2 gives me negative 4x. X times 1 gives me 1x. Negative 4x plus 1x gives me negative 3x, which is what I'm wanting. Okay. So we get to where we're wanting to go. So our brackets are going to be 2x plus 1, x minus 2, equals 0. Can we just say x? Yes, totally fine to just say x. Okay, so x is equal to negative 1/2 or x is equal to 2. Now, if you're looking at this picture where E is E, the x value for E, is it going to be a negative or is it going to be a positive? My x value for E, is it going to be negative or positive? Look at where E is on this graph. It's going to be negative. Yes, guys. Okay, so we know it's going to be this one because it's on that side. So I landed up getting the -1/2 because I said 2x plus 1 is equal to 0. So 2x is equal to -1, which means x is equal to -1/2. Okay, so we now know that x is -1/2. Now, they asked us for the coordinates of E, and this is just the first part. Now we've just found what x is, so now we have to find what y is. You can sub it into any equation. So I'm going to choose my straight line graph because it's a bit easier. So I'm going to say -3x plus 6 is equal to y, okay, because that's my straight line equation. And I'm going to sub in this value for x. So -3 times -1/2 plus 6 is equal to y. So I'll end up getting 3/2 plus 6, which I'm just going to make into a fraction quickly. 12/2 is equal to y. And so I get 15/2 is y. And so my final answer over here for E would be -1/2 and 15/2. Yeah, so the thing is, like, some of these are not really, I know it looks like it's horrific. It is also the first time we're doing one of these big questions where it's joined together. So I know I can understand how you're feeling like, oh my gosh, what am I seeing? The thing is that most of this would be quite simple. So for example, the coordinates of A, that would be 1 mark. The coordinates of B would be 1 mark. The coordinates of C and D, maybe it would be 2. So let's say that that's 4 marks. Range of F would be 1 mark. The coordinates of the turning point would be 1 mark. And so that's only 6 marks. And then for this, they'd give you 1 there, one for factorizing, 1 for substituting, and 1 for getting y. So you'd probably get 5 marks over there. So then this whole question would probably be out of 11 marks. That's sort of where this type of question would be. I know, it's very scary when we start bringing graphs together. Don't panic. The thing is, like, these questions often take practice and they take work, and it's the first time you're seeing a question like this, so it's very normal to feel a bit stressed with it. Don't panic. And remember, if you're needing to and you're wanting to sort of watch it go a bit slower, you're welcome to watch the video. It will be out within 24 hours and you can re-watch this in your own pace and sort of go through it step by step. It does look like a fruit salad of numbers. I can completely see that. Yes, it's a lot. It's a lot of work. But yeah, 11 marks is a lot of marks. I mean, your tests are out of like 100, 150 sometimes. So that's like 10% of your test. So I know you feel like it should be like out of 50 marks, but 10% is a lot. Okay, we're just going to do a quick brain break and then we're going to try another one like this. It's a lot. I know it's a lot. Don't panic, guys. We just do it step by step. That's why we've got each other. Just remember, every time we've started a new section, you have felt stressed and then you feel fine by the end. Just takes time. Let's give your brains a little bit of a break. I want to know what my answer to this little question mark is. It's sort of in the quiz, but not to the same kind of difficulty, because it's very difficult to ask these kinds of questions with multiple choice. Your brain has crashed. Oh no, that's not good. We gotta turn that brain back on. Just tell it doesn't have a choice. Tell it who's boss. It's not 0.
We can do this, guys. Let's go.
You ate a lot of numbers. It's full. Oh, yeah. Annalise, absolutely. It is 36. You got
Well
there.
done. Well
You
done,
got
Annalise.
there. Nice. It is definitely 36. For those of you who are still trying to figure out, this is the line which will help you the most. As soon as you see that, things will start falling into place, I think. Yeah, exactly. They're both 16. So that tells us that they're the same as each other. So that means that all of these are 16, which means this is 16. So 16 divided by something needs to be that same something. So 16 divided by 4 is 4, which means that that's 4. Now, something divided by 4 needs to give me 0. So that means my line must be 0. So I have 4 plus 16 plus 0 plus 16, which gives me 36. It was a tough one. Yeah, I know it was a tough one, guys. I know. And your brains are tired because we're doing hard work. I understand. So fast. I know. So fast. Okay. Let's try and get into, let's try to do one big question before I end here. Okay. This one's a little bit less nasty. Okay. I'm going to read through this with you step by step. And then I'm going to let you try some of these by yourself. And then we're going to talk about them. Okay. So first things first, because I know it's also difficult when you don't have the graph like directly in front of you, like on a piece of paper. So I'm just going to try and help you do some steps that if you're in a test, I would recommend you do these things. So the graph of f, which is equal to ax squared plus q. Okay. Ax squared plus q is our formula for a parabola. This is f. Okay. G is negative x plus 4. That's this one here. Okay. That's our first step. Now, what I would like you to start thinking about is before even reading these questions. So imagine the questions weren't there. I know that my yellow graph is y equals ax squared plus q. What can you tell me, first of all, that you can already, that you know about that graph? What can you tell me? There's something that you definitely know already. If we're looking at that here, so we're not looking at the questions. Exactly, the y-intercept. So the y-intercept is telling me a value. So what do I actually already know? How could I write this instead of y equals ax squared plus q? What could I write to help myself if I was in a test situation? Beautiful, Portia. Q is 8. Exactly. So if I was writing this in a test situation, I could say, well, actually, I already know that that Q is 8. And I know that it's 8 because of that value over there. Okay. So now already, like, I'm not stressed. I can see that that's what that's going to be. What is else? Something else you can see? I don't know what value my A is going to be, but I know something about my A. What do we know about our A? We might not know its number, but we know something about it. What do we know about A? So look at the shape of your graph. Look at the shape of your parabola. It's a sad face. Good. Your graph is a sad face. Good. And because it's a sad face, we know that A is negative. Okay. So we know that that's going to be negative. Cool. Now let's read the rest. G is negative x plus 4. Okay. If G is negative x plus 4, that means that my gradient is negative 1 and my y-intercept is 4, which means that this point over here is 4. Useful for us to know, maybe. We don't know. We're just going to put all the information down here before we start anything. They're also telling us that y is the intercept of f and b is an x-intercept of both f and g. Cool. First question that I would like you guys to try is A, and then move your way down. So literally do it step by step. Work out A. Think about what A is. If it's saying determine the coordinates of B, think about what B is. Don't panic about it. Just think about what B is. And so then how could we work out B?
We can
And the
do
next,
this, guys.
yeah, the next question is saying find D. So if you want to find those two together in the same step, you can also do that. No, Tiamo, move those panicking modes. We're not panicking. This is a calm space. Zero panicking. For those who are feeling really lost right now, can someone tell me what B and D are? Like not the not the numbers. I don't care what the numbers are right now. What are B and D? So A is the y-intercept of the parabola. What are B and D? Good. Yes. B and D are the x-intercepts of, well, that's the x-intercept of our straight line and parabola, but of our parabola. And D is our x-intercept of our parabola. Okay. And if it's the x-intercept, what does that mean y is going to be equal to? If that is our x-intercept, then what is y? Good, yes. If that is our x-intercept, then y is equal to 0. Okay, so all we have to do is we have to think about this sort of step by step.
You guys remember you are doing really well just by trying. It's already like a step forward. Let's do this. I'm with you. I'm learning.
If you get to a question and you're feeling like, I don't know where I'm going to from here, or I've done this and now I don't know what to do, then let me know. Tell me where you're getting stuck. Like, tell me what your roadblock is. I've done this and now I don't know how to do this next thing, or I've tried this, but now I don't have this. So tell me what you've done so far, and then tell me where your roadblock currently is. And then we can work through what those roadblocks are. Okay, so that's a great question, Zansile. You actually don't need to find A for this question. And I know you're thinking, well, I have to find A because I have to find the x coordinates of my parabola, right? But can I find B? So at the moment, let's just focus on this guy over here. Can I find B without knowing what A is? I definitely can. Why can I find B without knowing what A is? What is B? B is the x-intercept of our parabola and our straight line. So can we find B by finding the x-intercept of our straight line? Because I think we can. I think we have enough information to do that if we have our straight line equation over here. So just focus on A for the moment. That's your first step. Don't get caught up with finding anything else. Okay, great. Okay, so to work out A, we know we don't have this one, right? So we can't use our parabola formula right now. So we have to think about our straight line. We know that it is an x-intercept, which means we want to make y equal to 0. So I'm going to say 0 is equal to negative x plus 4. Okay, because we've made y equal to 0. I'm then going to move my 4 over. I'm going to get negative 4 is equal to negative x, which means x is equal to 4. Okay, so that's telling me that my coordinates of B are 4 and 0. That is what B is. 4 and 0. Is there anyone who is not understanding how I got that 4 and 0? Okay. All right, guys, I'll try and talk through this again. Okay. First, we have to understand what B is. Is everyone happy that B is the x-intercept of our parabola and the x-intercept of our straight line? Give me a thumbs up if we're happy with that. If we're happy that B is the x-intercept of our parabola and our straight line. Give me a thumbs up if we're happy with that. Okay. Cool. And if it's an x-intercept, then y is going to equal 0. That's what we know about intercepts. Okay, that's something that we know about intercepts. We know that we can't play around with our parabola formula that's in yellow over there because we don't have the a value. Okay, so we can't use it right now. So we're saying we know that B is the x-intercept of our straight line. Our straight line looks like this. This is the equation that we have written up at the top. Okay, now remember, we can change that g of x to be y because they mean the same thing. It's just giving it its name. So we can say y is equal to negative x plus 4. That is our straight line's equation. Now, if I'm looking for the x-intercept of that line, I want to make y equal to 0. So I'm going to make y equal to 0. Chosi, yeah.
Ma'am, where does negative x come from?
That's part of my equation, sweetheart. G of x, they told us the equation is negative x plus 4.
Oh, I thought it was positive x, ma'am. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. Oh, sorry, I clicked the button there. Okay, so now we have 0 equals negative x plus 4. I'm trying to find what x is. I'm just going to jump this x over instead of my 4, and I'm going to see that x is equal to 4. Okay, so that means that I know that at that point over there, that x-intercept of my straight line, those coordinates are 4 and 0, and that is B. B is 4 and 0. Okay, that's our first step. Hopefully we're feeling a little bit happier with that now. Now, the second question over here is asking us, what is the coordinates of D? Okay. Now, the important thing to think about a parabola is that they are always symmetrical. They're like a butterfly. You can fold them in half and they are exactly the same on both sides. Okay. So if my coordinates for B are 4 and 0, what are my coordinates of D? Lee Kalen, great. Great. Okay, because it's symmetrical, if B is 4 and 0, then D will be negative 4 and 0. Okay, cool, good, progress. You see, don't look at these questions and panic and see things and be like, it's too much. We just have to break it up into small little sections, and then it's not so bad. Okay, next question. Determine the values of A and Q. Now, we've already done some of that because we're brain buffs, okay? So we actually already know that Q is equal to 8. We figured that out right in the beginning. So we already know that our equation is y equals ax squared plus 8. Who has a suggestion of how we can find what A is now that we have done all of this other work? how could we go about finding what A is? What can I do from here? I'm open to all suggestions. Yeah, so we're definitely going to be using our parabola. What can I put into that equation in order to find A? How could I find A? Grace, yeah. What could I put into that equation?
Ma'am, I think on y you are going to pick to put 0 and then equals to a into brackets 4 into brackets squared plus 8.
Beautiful, beautiful. So we're going to use one of these coordinates. That was great, Grace. Excellent. Nice
Well
job.
done, Grace.
So we're going to substitute values in. You can either substitute -4 and 0 in, or you can substitute 4 and 0. Remember, that's x and that's y. So we're going to substitute that into this equation. We're going to say y is equal to 0 and x is equal to 4. And we are going to try and find A. So we actually did this in our lesson last Thursday when we were trying to find the equation of the graph. It's just that now it feels confusing because we're sort of bringing it all together, which is very normal to feel confused in questions like this, so don't panic, okay? So what we landed getting is 0 equals 16A plus 8. I'm going to move my 8 over. I'm going to divide both by 16. And so A is equal to 1/2. And so now I have my whole equation. Y is 1/2 x squared plus 8. So what we did over here was we substituted 4 and 0. Okay, so Samkelo, I like what you wrote there. The -8 equals ax squared. Now we know that the x is 4. So that's -8 equals a, in brackets, 4 squared. It takes time, guys. Don't panic. Remember, it's a step-by-step process. Good, Stable. Great. That's great. And again, mark-wise here, let's try and assess what we would have had. You probably would have gotten 2 marks up here. You would have gotten 1 mark there. And maybe 3 marks here. So we're looking at like 6 marks so far. Okay. Now the next one we haven't really spoken about together, but we have spoken about E. So I want you to think about if a range is talking about our Y values, then what would domain be talking about? If range is talking about our Y values, then what would domain be talking about? X values. Nice job, guys. Okay. So we're saying, what are the possible X values for this straight line? What are the possible X values for this straight line? This line over here, someone asked me a couple of lessons ago if we have to do the arrows on the end of the lines. This is actually the reason why we have to do the arrows on the end of the lines. That arrow is telling me that that line is going to go on forever. That line is going to go on until -infinity. This line is going to go on until +infinity. That's going to go on forever. That's going to go on forever. They go on forever and ever and ever and ever. So I can have literally any X value because this line is going to go all the way to -infinity and the other line is going to go all the way to +infinity. So if I was answering what is my domain of G, I'm saying that X can be any real number. And if you haven't learned it, yes, exactly, Kevin, to infinity and beyond. If you haven't learned it to be written like that, don't panic. You could also say from -infinity to +infinity. So you can write it like that or like that. It's just telling us that X can be any number. That's what this line over here means. That means X can be any number. So Lorato, X can definitely be more than -4. So this line here is where x is -4, but this is where x is -5, this is where x is -6, this is where x is -7. X, it can definitely exist there. And Tiamo, it can be more than 4 because this is where x is 5, this is where x is 6, this is where x is 7, this is where x is 10. So x can be any number. It's either going to be written like this, where we say x is an element of any real number, or we can write it like this. We would say x can be all the way from -infinity all the way to +infinity. Okay, cool. Last question. Let's see what you remember from the previous question we worked on. What is the range? So what are my possible y values of f? Yes, Grace. So we look at what is the top value that y can be. Top value y can be is 8. And so we'd say y has to be less than or equal to 8. Or we can say from -infinity all the way to 8. So either way, whichever way you learned in class, that's the way that you should write this. And that is what these questions look like when we combine everything together. And I know that they look scary, but don't panic because we will do more practice with them. This was our first time for getting 2 graphs mushed together. I know how scary it is. I said to you, Linda, before this lesson started, I was like, we're going to have people freaking out today because I know it's scary. Don't stress if you're feeling scared, okay? But it just takes a bit of time, and I promise it'll become less scary over time. It is a little bit like a horror movie. I understand that. And I can imagine if you like came in late and you just saw all of these numbers and things on the screen, you'd be like, no, this is not for me. I'm out of here. But I promise if you go through it slowly, and that's why I know it's hard, and I know that you're teenagers and like doing a lot of maths in the evenings and afternoons, not your top priority. But if you can watch this video and you can watch it slowly and go through the steps again, sometimes just hearing it that second time is really helpful. So the answers for D are what I wrote here in purple. Let me just highlight them for you so you can see them. These are your answers for D. Okay. And on that beautiful note, it's actually your quiz day. So I am going to be passing you on to Yolanda, and she's going to walk you through how to get onto the quiz. And I will see you all, you lovely people. Some of you I will see on Saturday, which I'm very excited about. And some of you I will see next Tuesday. Don't be